Picture a time thousands of years ago when leadership first began to take shape. In those early days, the concept of leadership was raw and primal. It was a time when physical prowess was often the defining factor of a leader. The strongest, the swiftest, the most resilient. These were the individuals who bore the weight of their tribes on their robust shoulders. They were the first line of defense, the providers, the unyielding protectors of their communities. Yet as significant as physical strength was, it wasn't the only measure of leadership. There was wisdom too that came with age. The elders of the tribe, those who had seen many moons pass, held a different kind of authority. Their words, shaped by experience, carried influence and respect. They guided the tribe, their wisdom shaping decisions that affected the lives of everyone in the community. Then there were the spiritual leaders, the keepers of faith, who connected the tribe with the unseen forces of nature and the cosmos. They provided a sense of purpose, a spiritual compass guiding the tribe through the mysteries of life and death. Their influence was potent and pervasive as they shaped the tribe's beliefs and rituals and offered solace in times of hardship and uncertainty. In these early societies, leadership was not a privilege, but a responsibility. A responsibility to protect, to provide, to guide, and to inspire. It was an organic process born out of necessity and survival. It wasn't about power or control, but about serving the community and ensuring its survival. This was the dawn of leadership, a time when leaders emerged not by decree or inheritance, but by the virtues of strength, wisdom, and spiritual guidance. It was a simple yet profound beginning, where the leaders were truly of the people, for the people. As societies grew, so did the complexity of leadership. Fast forward to the age of monarchs, where leadership was often a birthright. This was an era where the crown was more than a piece of jewelry. It was a symbol of power and authority. The scepter, not just a staff, but the embodiment of a divine mandate. Kings and queens didn't just rule their lands, they were sovereigns ordained by the heavens themselves. In this age, leadership was not earned, it was inherited. The firstborn son, the heir apparent, was groomed from birth to take the mantle. It was a time when the bloodline was the resume and the family crest, the job application. The royal nursery was the training ground and the court, the ultimate test of leadership. The concept of the divine right of kings was paramount in this age. This was the belief that monarchs were chosen by God or the gods, depending on the culture, to rule. It was a doctrine that served as the cornerstone of governance. It not only justified the power of the monarch, but also made it sacrosanct and unquestionable. But even in this era of divine rulers, advisors played an essential role. The monarch may have been the head, but the advisors were the brain. They were the ones who provided counsel, who guided the ruler through the labyrinth of governance. They were the strategists, the scholars, the diplomats. Their wisdom often determined the fate of kingdoms and empires. This was the age of monarchs, a time when leadership was a birthright, when power was passed down from generation to generation. It was an era of grand castles and royal courts, of knights and nobles, of kingdoms and empires. It was a time when the world was ruled by the divine right of kings and queens. Yet, as grand as this era was, it was not to last. The winds of change were starting to blow, carrying whispers of revolutions and new forms of governance. Monarchies ruled for centuries, but change was on the horizon. In the cradle of democracy, Greece, leadership took a new form. In the sun-kissed city-states of ancient Greece, the concept of leadership began to evolve. It was here, amid the grandeur of Athens and the might of Sparta, that the seeds of democracy were sown. No longer was leadership the sole domain of kings and queens bestowed by birthright or seized by force. Instead, in this new system, every citizen had a say. The role of citizens in this early democracy was pivotal. Each had the opportunity to directly participate in the governance of their city-state. They could propose laws, engage in debate, and cast their vote in the assembly. It was a radical shift, a move away from the autocratic rule of the few to the inclusive governance of the many. This democratic process also brought a new concept of leadership to the fore, the idea of elected leaders. No longer would leaders be born, they would be chosen. Men were elected to positions of power based on their merit, their wisdom, their ability to persuade. This was not a perfect system, and it had its flaws, but it was a significant stride towards the leadership model we know today. In the agora, the heart of political life in these city-states, debate was seen as an essential part of governance. Ideas were not simply imposed, but were argued and defended. This open dialogue, this battle of minds and words, was the lifeblood of Greek democracy. But why is this important? Because it was here, in the birthplace of democracy, that the very idea of what it means to lead began to change. Leadership was no longer about wielding absolute power, but about guiding a collective, about serving the people. It was about persuasion, not coercion. Democracy laid the groundwork for a new kind of leader. A leader who listens, who debates, who is chosen by the people for the people. And it was this new kind of leader that would go on to shape the world we know today. The Industrial Revolution brought about significant changes, not least in how leaders operated. This transformative period, stretching from the mid-18th to the mid-19th century, was characterized by a shift from agrarian, handcraft economies to ones dominated by industry and machine manufacturing. But it was also a time of immense change in the realm of leadership. Before the Industrial Revolution, power was often tied to land ownership. However, the advent of industry began to shift this dynamic. Suddenly, those who owned factories and controlled the means of production held significant sway. This gave rise to a new class of leaders, the business magnates. These individuals, through their industrial empires, wielded enormous influence, shaping not only the economy but also society and politics. In addition to the rise of business leaders, the Industrial Revolution also brought about a shift in how leadership was conceptualized. It was no longer solely about the accumulation of wealth or land. Instead, effective leadership began to be associated with the ability to manage resources, including human resources, efficiently. This era saw the beginnings of modern management techniques. Leaders started to recognize the importance of strategic planning, delegation, and team building. They understood that to run a successful business, they needed to motivate their workforce and create an environment conducive to productivity. The concept of the good manager began to take root, setting the stage for leadership theories that would emerge in the 20th century. The Industrial Revolution, therefore, reshaped the landscape of leadership. The power dynamic shifted from land-based to wealth-based, and new management techniques started to be valued. Leaders were no longer just rulers or landowners. They were also business owners, managers, and strategists. As the world entered the 20th century, leadership was about to face its biggest test yet. 2 world wars, the rise of technology, and shifting societal values have reshaped what we expect from our leaders. As we ventured into the 20th century, the world was rocked by 2 cataclysmic events, World War I and World War II. These wars demanded leaders of strength, resolve, and charisma. Charismatic leaders like Winston Churchill and Franklin D. Roosevelt rose to the occasion, demonstrating a leadership style that was both inspirational and transformational. They rallied nations, turning tides and shaping history with their words and actions. But charisma wasn't the only change we saw in leadership style. The 20th century also marked a significant shift in societal values. For the first time, women began to emerge as leaders on the world stage. Figures like Indira Gandhi, Golda Meir, and Margaret Thatcher shattered the glass ceiling, proving that leadership was not a trait exclusive to men. Their rise to power signified a change in societal expectations and norms and paved the way for future generations of women leaders. In the 21st century, the digital revolution has once again reshaped the landscape of leadership. The rise of technology has brought about a new kind of leader, the tech titan. These leaders, like Elon Musk and Sheryl Sandberg, have harnessed the power of technology to build empires and influence global trends. Their leadership style is characterized by innovation, disruption, and a relentless drive to push the boundaries of what is possible. But technology has not only given rise to a new type of leader, it has also changed the way leaders communicate and interact with their followers. Social media has made leaders more accessible and accountable, while the internet has made information more readily available, challenging leaders to be more transparent and honest. Leadership has come a long way, but the journey is far from over. The challenges and opportunities of the modern world continue to shape and redefine what it means to be a leader. In this ever-evolving landscape, one thing remains constant: the need for strong, visionary leaders who can guide us into the future. As we look to the future, What will leadership look like? Imagine a world where artificial intelligence plays a significant role in decision-making. This doesn't mean that we'll have robot bosses, but rather AI could provide leaders with data-driven insights, helping them make informed decisions swiftly and accurately. It's not about replacing human judgment, but enhancing it. Yet with all this technology, the future of leadership won't just be about who can crunch numbers the fastest. Emotional intelligence will become increasingly valuable. As our workplaces become more diverse and our problems more complex, leaders will need to understand and manage emotions, both their own and those of their teams. They'll need to empathize, to inspire, and to build strong relationships. In the future, we might see a shift away from the traditional top-down leadership model. More organizations could adopt a more democratic style where everyone has a voice and decisions are made collectively. This style of leadership fosters an environment of trust and mutual respect where everyone feels valued and heard. Moreover, the leaders of tomorrow will likely be more diverse than ever before. We're already seeing the positive impacts of diverse leadership today. Diversity brings in a wide range of perspectives, fostering innovation and enhancing problem solving. In the future, we can expect to see even more women, people of color, and individuals from various backgrounds and experiences in leadership positions. Finally, the future of leadership will be about sustainability. Leaders will have to navigate the complex challenges of climate change, resource scarcity, and social inequality. They'll need to lead with a long-term perspective, considering not just the immediate impact of their decisions, but also their implications for future generations. In sum, the leaders of the future will be data-driven yet emotionally intelligent, democratic yet decisive, diverse and inclusive. They will lead with sustainability in mind, always considering the long-term impacts of their decisions. Only time will reveal the leaders of tomorrow. In the span of human history, leadership has evolved from tribal chiefs to AI algorithms. As we've journeyed through the epochs, we've seen how leadership has been shaped and reshaped by social, economic, and technological tides. Let's take a moment to reflect on this journey. We began with the dawn of leadership, where tribal chiefs led their clans, not by birthright, but by proving their worth through courage and wisdom. This phase of leadership was simple yet effective, driven by survival and the necessity of cooperation. Then came the age of monarchs, a stark contrast to the egalitarian leadership of tribal chiefs. Power was handed down through bloodlines, and the divine right of kings was the ruling principle. However, this era also brought us some of the greatest leaders in history who reigned with wisdom, courage, and an unwavering vision for their kingdoms. The rise of democracy marked a significant shift in leadership. Power began to lie in the hands of the many rather than the few. Leaders were now chosen by the people, for the people, marking a revolutionary change in the dynamics of leadership. The Industrial Revolution further transformed leadership. As industries thrived and businesses boomed, leaders emerged from the economic sphere. These were not kings or presidents, but industrialists and entrepreneurs. Their leadership was defined by innovation, adaptability, and a relentless drive for progress. In the modern world, leadership has become more complex and multifaceted. With the advent of technology and globalization, leaders now navigate a landscape that is constantly changing and infinitely connected. They must be visionaries, strategists, and diplomats all at once. As we look to the future, we see the emergence of AI algorithms and machine learning in leadership roles. This brings forth a new set of challenges and possibilities. Will machines make better leaders, or will human intuition and empathy always have a place at the helm? Throughout this journey, we've seen that successful leaders, whether they be tribal chiefs, monarchs, presidents, or CEOs, share certain qualities. They are adaptable, able to navigate through changing circumstances while holding on to their vision. They are resilient, undeterred by setbacks and failures. And most importantly, they are visionary, able to inspire and mobilize people towards a common goal. The evolution of leadership tells a story of human progress, reflecting our changing values and aspirations. It shows us that leadership is not a fixed concept, but a fluid one, shaped by the context in which it operates. As we continue to evolve, so too will our understanding of leadership. Who knows what the future holds? But one thing is certain, leadership will continue to evolve as long as humanity does.